It was a rainy Tuesday morning when Emily missed her usual bus. Her umbrella had broken halfway to the stop, leaving her soaked and shivering. She sighed, thinking the day couldn't get worse, until she noticed a man sitting alone on the bench, his clothes damp and torn. He looked invisible to the world. People passed by, pretending not to see him. Emily hesitated. She was late for work, and helping a stranger wasn't on her to-do list. But something in his eyes, quiet sadness mixed with dignity, made her pause, just for a second longer. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. The man lifted his gaze, surprised that someone had spoken to him. "Just cold," he murmured. His voice trembled, not just from the chill, but from something deeper, loneliness perhaps. Emily nodded and handed him her coffee cup. "It's not much," she said. The man smiled faintly, his hands shaking as he accepted the cup. "Thank you," he whispered, as if afraid the kindness would vanish if he said it too loud. The rain kept falling, but in that small moment, warmth bloomed between strangers. Emily's bus arrived. She hesitated again, then tore a page from her notebook, scribbling something quickly. "Here," she said, giving him the note. "There's a cafe down the street. Tell them Emily sent you. They'll give you breakfast." Then she ran to catch her bus. As the bus pulled away, she glanced back through the foggy window. The man unfolded the note and smiled. Something in her chest lifted, a lightness she hadn't felt in months. She didn't know his name, but somehow she hoped her small act mattered. At work, Emily couldn't focus. Her boss's voice faded into background noise as she thought about that man. Why did his eyes stay with her? Maybe because they mirrored how she felt lately, tired, unseen, trying to hold herself together in a world that moved too fast. Later that evening, Emily passed the cafe she had mentioned. She peeked inside, half expecting to see the man. He wasn't there. Maybe he never went. Maybe he thought she was just being polite. Still, she left a few bills at the counter just in case. Days passed. Life returned to its rhythm: emails, deadlines, commutes. But Emily found herself carrying an extra cup of coffee every morning, scanning the bus stop for that familiar face. It became a quiet ritual, a promise she couldn't quite explain. One morning, as she approached the stop, she froze. The man was there, but this time he looked different. His clothes were cleaner, his hair combed. He was holding a broom, sweeping the sidewalk. When he saw her, his eyes brightened like sunrise. "Emily," he called softly, as if testing her name. "You remembered," she said, smiling. "You went to the cafe." He nodded, laughter in his eyes. "They gave me food. Then the owner offered me this job. Said you told her I was a good man." Emily's heart swelled. They stood there, rain beginning to fall again. "It's not much," he said, gesturing to the broom. "But it's a start." Emily felt tears sting her eyes. "It's everything," she whispered. "Everyone deserves a start." For a moment, silence said what words couldn't. Before leaving, he handed her something, a small, folded paper bag. "For you," he said shyly. Inside was a single daisy, freshly picked. "You reminded me that kindness still exists," he said. "I thought maybe you needed that reminder too." That daisy sat on Emily's desk for weeks. Every time she looked at it, she smiled. The simple white petals reminded her that small acts mattered, even when the world seemed indifferent. They were threads that stitched people back together. Months passed. Emily never saw him again. But something in her had changed. She started volunteering at a shelter on weekends, quietly paying forward the warmth she'd once given and received in the rain. She didn't even realize how deeply it shaped her. One night, while serving soup at the shelter, she heard laughter from the kitchen. "Hey, you're Emily, right?" a young volunteer asked. "There's someone who talks about you all the time, says you changed his life." Emily's spoon froze midair. Her heart raced. "What's his name?" she asked. The boy grinned. "Tom. He's the guy who runs the morning shift here now. Used to be on the streets, I think. Says a stranger once gave him coffee and a note that led him here." Emily's eyes glistened. She quietly excused herself and stepped outside. The night air was cool, filled with the hum of city life. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "I'm glad you made it, Tom." Somewhere in that vast sky, she felt the universe whisper back, "Thank you." Emily realized then that kindness didn't need witnesses. It didn't need applause or recognition. It simply moved forward, like ripples in water, touching lives unseen. What she gave that rainy morning had grown into something far beyond her imagination. But fate wasn't done weaving their stories together. Months later, a letter arrived at Emily's door, no return address, just her name in neat handwriting. Inside was a simple message. "Your kindness changed everything. Let me tell you how." The letter felt warm in Emily's hands, as if it carried a heartbeat of its own. She sat by the window, moonlight spilling across the paper, and unfolded it slowly. The first words made her breath hitch. "Dear Emily, you may not remember me right away, but I'll never forget you." The handwriting was shaky, but steady enough to tell a story. "When you handed me that cup of coffee," the letter continued, "I was ready to give up. That morning I had no place to go and no reason to stay, but your kindness made me pause. It made me want to try." Emily's chest tightened. The rain that night had felt endless, but now she understood. It had been a cleansing rain, washing away despair and planting a seed of hope. She traced the words with her fingers as if touching the memory itself. Tom's letter went on. "I walked into that cafe, expecting nothing. But the owner, Clara, looked at me like I mattered. She said, 'If Emily trusts you, that's good enough for me.' Those words cracked something open inside me. I hadn't felt trusted in years. I started sweeping floors there," the letter continued. "Every day I showed up early, trying to earn the faith you and Clara had given me. Little by little, I began saving. One morning, I realized I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living." Emily felt tears roll down her cheeks. The letter was more than a thank you. It was a confession of rebirth. She could almost see Tom, broom in hand, standing a little taller with each passing day. Kindness had become his quiet revolution. After a few months, Tom wrote, "I took night classes. Clara helped me enroll in a community program. I studied social work because I wanted to understand the pain I'd lived through and how to ease it for others. I wanted to be the person you were for me." Emily smiled through her tears. Tom's words glowed with courage. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was building something new. The seed of kindness had grown into a tree, and now its shade was sheltering others who needed it most. "I started volunteering at the shelter," the letter said. "At first I just handed out meals. Then one day a man came in who looked how I once did, tired, lost, invisible. I gave him my coffee and told him about you. That's when I understood. Kindness doesn't end, it continues." Emily's hands trembled as she read on. The world outside her window was quiet, but her heart was loud with emotion. She thought of all the times she'd doubted whether small gestures mattered. Now, she had proof they could rewrite someone's life. Tom's next words were simple. "You didn't just save me that day, you reminded me that I was worth saving, and now I want to pass that reminder to others. I call it the Coffee Note Project. Every week we leave warm drinks and hopeful notes for strangers." Emily laughed softly through her tears. She could picture its small slips of paper, steaming cups on park benches, the quiet beauty of unseen kindness spreading across the city. A movement born from one broken umbrella and a single act of compassion. Tom ended his letter with a final line. "If you ever stop by the shelter again, ask for me. I'll be the one sweeping floors with a smile, waiting to thank you in person." Emily folded the letter gently, holding it to her heart. She knew exactly what she would do next. The next morning, she carried 2 coffees to the shelter the same way she had carried 1 year ago. Her hands trembled with anticipation. As she stepped inside, the smell of soup and warm bread filled the air. And then she saw him. Tom stood near the entrance, broom in hand, just like before. His face lit up when he saw her. "Emily?" he said, voice thick with emotion. She nodded, tears glistening. "I got your letter," she whispered, "and I'm proud of you, Tom. So proud." They sat at a corner table, steam rising from their cups. "You changed my life," Tom said quietly. "No," Emily replied, smiling softly. "You changed your life. I just gave you a push." Their laughter filled the room, gentle, real, healing. As they talked, Emily noticed volunteers moving around, some young, some old, each carrying cups with small handwritten notes. "Coffee Note Project?" she asked, smiling. Tom grinned. "Yeah, it's growing. Turns out, people love kindness." Emily reached into her bag and pulled out the old daisy, now pressed between pages of her notebook. "You gave me this," she said. "It reminded me to believe again." Tom smiled, eyes soft. "Then maybe it's time to plant it," he said. "Let it grow." Outside the shelter, they found a small patch of soil near the steps. Emily knelt, planting the dried daisy seeds into the ground. "For every kindness given," she whispered, "may another bloom." Tom nodded. "For every life touched," he added, "may another be lifted." Weeks later, tiny white flowers sprouted near the shelter's door. Volunteers called them Emily's blossoms. And every time someone asked how they began, Tom would smile and say, "It started with a cup of coffee and a note from a stranger who decided to care."